What's up everyone and welcome back to the MMA Zone. Today, let's get started with Michael Chandler squashes beef with Dustin Poirier. Ever since Dustin Poirier called out Michael Chandler for cheating during their UFC 281 fight in 2022, Poirier's been pretty open about his frustrations for Chandler. Although he recently revealed that he likes watching Chandler fight, Poirier also told RG3 a few weeks ago that he thinks Chandler has a fake personality on top of being a cheater and not admitting it. And before we continue, make sure to leave a like on the video to help support the channel. Ahead of his upcoming fight with Paddy Pimblett, Michael Chandler spoke with Shaq MMA to discuss a wide range of topics, including DP, who's in the middle of figuring out the details for his retirement fight. Although Poirier might not have any love for Chandler, the beef doesn't go both ways. Man, he's an absolute legend. He's a guy who really grew up inside of the UFC, a guy who has earned his stripes. You know his hashtag paid in full. He really has paid in full for everything that he's accomplished. Everything that he's done, the wins that he has had, the losses that he's taken, and the way he came back from those losses, fighting for the title numerous times. I think that's his legacy, and it'll be tough to watch, for all the fans to watch him lay the gloves down in New Orleans. Hopefully he can make that happen this summer and I'll be there most likely. No word yet on who Poirier will fight for his final bout, or when the fight will take place. However, Beneil Dariush recently revealed for Submission Radio that he's hearing a Poirier-Holloway trilogy fight is in the works. Earlier February, Poirier told the Schmo that the discussions are about him fighting this summer in New Orleans, but nothing is confirmed yet. What are your thoughts on Dustin Poirier versus Max Holloway? Is this a fight you're interested in watching? Let us know down in the comment section below. Justin Gaethje calls for UFC title fight again. After this weekend's UFC 313 card, where Justin Gaethje got back in the win column with a convincing victory over Rafael Fiziev, Justin Gaethje, or rather, someone using Gaethje's account, sent a message to Dana White and the UFC saying, "Give him a title fight. I won 3 out of my last 4, only losing in an exhibition fight. I have to fight for the belt. Dana White, I'm ready." The way the post is worded led some fans to believe that it's Gaethje's manager, Ali Abdelaziz, using his account. Heading into Saturday's fight, Gaethje was pretty open about the fact that he wasn't sure if a win over Fiziev would make him the #1 contender. However, since his UFC 313 win, he feels like he deserves a title fight next. With that being said, Arman Tsarukyan, who came out in an interview with the Schmo, doesn't think it's fair if Gaethje gets awarded a title shot next. We reported recently that Islam Makhachev has been openly talking about wanting to fight Gaethje next, so the UFC has a lot of amazing fights to make in the lightweight division. Names like Arman Tsarukyan, Charles Oliveira, Justin Gaethje, and now Ilia Topuria all want a title shot next, and all of them don't have any fights booked. So it'll be interesting to see who the promotion picks to fight Makhachev next. Fiziev appeared on Tuesday's episode of the Ariel Helwani show, where he threw his support behind Justin Gaethje, saying that if the Gaethje versus Makhachev fight ends up happening, he's on Team Gaethje. I wish so much Justin Gaethje can fight for the belt. I wish it so much, man. I think he deserves it more than anybody on this division. More than everybody for sure, and I hope he gets it. If he fights against Islam, I'm with him. I'm on his side. As Fiziev went on to say, he feels like Gaethje should have gotten a crack at the title before losing to Max Holloway. As for Fiziev, following his second loss to Gaethje, Fiziev's thinking about a big change himself. "I'm starting to think about changing weight divisions because I cut weight very easy this time, and this was short notice. These guys have trouble if I come there. They'll be in trouble, man, everybody." As he went on to reveal, he's been thinking about a drop to 145 for quite some time, which could be interesting given that the division is getting ready to crown a new champion. Conor McGregor sends a message to Joe Rogan. "We might never see Conor McGregor return to the octagon anytime soon, or ever, but he seems to be very interested in something else at the moment." Last night, Conor McGregor tweeted at Joe Rogan, telling him to respond to his messages. He's basically asking Rogan to appear on the JRE podcast. Here's what he had to say. "What's up, Joe Rogan? My man, I messaged you. Are you looking for a guest on the podcast? I have a great one for you. Do you want to see Conor McGregor appear on Joe Rogan's podcast? This is very interesting considering the two were feuding for some time. For example, during UFC 229, Joe Rogan called out Conor McGregor for an illegal knee to Khabib. McGregor then went off on Rogan 4 years later in his infamous Twitter note.
"That was an illegal knee on the head of a grounded opponent. Shut up, Joe, you little fool, yeah. What are you talking about? Smash this and smash that. What was smashed? My knee into his eye socket, yeah? Sake. That's a knee to a grounded opponent. Call the cops." Ticket.
After all of that, Joe Rogan made comments of Conor McGregor's PED use after breaking his leg. Conor McGregor then attacked Rogan on social media for never fighting in the UFC and only being in Taekwondo competitions, alongside accusing him of PED use as well. which is weird given that Rogan has openly talked about his TRT therapy on the show, so it's gonna be interesting to see how this one plays out. While we're on the topic of Conor McGregor, last night, McGregor was booed in his hometown of Dublin during a concert.
It sounds like you're in love with Conor McGregor here. And I'll be straight with you. From what I heard, he's actually out there right now.
Alex Pereira won't last at heavyweight, according to Daniel Cormier. This past weekend, Magomed Ankalaev captured UFC gold with a decision win over Alex Pereira, bringing an end to Poatin's light heavyweight reign. With Pereira focused on getting his belt back, it sounds like conversations about a potential move to heavyweight have been put on the back burner for now. The way Daniel Cormier sees things, Pereira would have had a tough time at heavyweight. During the latest episode of Good Guy Bad Guy with Chael Sonnen, he said that if Ankalaev's pressure was too much for him, the pressure of heavyweights would be overwhelming. I don't think he's strong enough to go with anyone bigger. The amount of pressure that Ankalaev was able to generate without danger coming back at him, those heavyweights would kind of just walk right through what he was throwing at him. While some fans weren't too happy with Ankalaev's clinch-heavy game plan, Kamaru Usman put the blame on Pereira during the latest episode of he and Henry Cejudo's Pound for Pound show. I'm not angry about the 3-2 decision for Ankalaev, but I think in that 5th round, Alex Pereira did come out with a little bit more sense of urgency. He looked like he was trying to fight and actually go to try to finish the fight. But Ankalaev would push him against the fence and wear him down again. Hey, it's your job to get off the fence. If you're not doing that, then why would the ref save you? The way Henry Cejudo sees things, Pereira's rock star lifestyle finally caught up with him. In response to his Pound for Pound co-host, Triple C added, I think Alex Pereira's lifestyle is finally kind of catching up to him. The travel, the shama, a lot of the skit, and a lot of stuff that he's actually doing. It's really not doing him any service. The only reason why I say this is because his body looked a little different, dude. He looked a little pudgier. He looked a little thicker in the face going in. We have to credit Magomed Ankalaev. He did a really good job at his composure, bro. He didn't react to a lot of Pereira's things. The dude has his hands up the whole damn time, and it's not just that, but Alex Pereira also has trouble with southpaws. Given how long Pereira reigned over the division, Dana White has already confirmed that he'll be getting an immediate rematch. Following his UFC 313 victory, Magomed seems very impressed with his performance. Last night, Magomed had this to say, I just re-watched my fight again. 20 minutes of this fight was all striking. And most of this 20 minutes, I was the one putting the pressure. The game plan to use wrestling to open the striking, and I landed the hardest shots. I landed more significant strikes. Are you interested in seeing this rematch? As for Alex Pereira, he seems to be in good spirits following his loss, continuously posting videos of him dancing and enjoying life, the way it should be. Khamzat Chimaev talks about toughest fight in the UFC. Khamzat Chimaev has absolutely mauled some of the opposition he's faced in the octagon. While 5 of his 8 wins in the UFC have all been in the very first round, John Phillips, Gilbert Burns, and Kamaru Usman all managed to make it out of the first round, with the Burns and Usman fights both going to a decision. During an interview with Azamat Shev, Chimaev was asked who his toughest opponent has been. Probably it was Usman. He defended against my wrestling very well. Wrestling is good. He defended my takedowns well. He didn't let me choke his neck. I tried to choke him for 5 minutes, but his defense was too good. The fight saw Chimaev go 4 for 12 on takedown attempts, while racking up over 7 minutes of control time. However, just like he said in the video, he wasn't able to pull off a submission. Since Chimaev's win over Robert Whittaker back in October and Dricus du Plessis' victory over Sean Strickland in February, there's been no real word on when a Chimaev DDP fight may happen. Despite that, all indications are that Chimaev is next for a title fight. Leon Edwards still interested in fighting Belal Muhammad. Belal Muhammad might think that Leon Edwards needs to wait 3 long years before getting another crack at the belt, but ahead of the former champion's fight with Sean Brady in London, he's pretty confident that he'll get a crack at the title after Jack Della Maddalena and Shavkat Rakhmonov, so long as he gets the win. Ahead of the Edwards vs. Brady fight next weekend, Leon Edwards spoke about a rematch with Belal Muhammad during a new video for his YouTube channel. In it, he chalked his UFC 304 loss up to an off night, saying that he needs to avenge the loss.
I'd love to run it back with Belal. You know, I feel like it's difficult to say he wins. Like I said, I probably prefer Belal because he was the last guy to defeat me, you know, and even though at an off night, I feel like that's one I need to get back, you know. I truly believe that I'm the better fighter between me and him, and go out there and prove it again. But now I'm focusing on Sean. Focusing on Sean Brady right now, and I gotta go out there in London, get rid of him, and then once I get rid of him, then Tarsha is next to me.
Considering after Muhammad and JDM fight at UFC 315 in May, the winner will likely face Shavkat, which was said by Dana White on his Instagram livestream following the UFC 315 announcement. There's no telling where a win next weekend puts Edwards in the welterweight title picture. Now, the question is, what if JDM wins at UFC 315? Ariel Helwani is theorizing that if JDM wins, Islam Makhachev will move up to welterweight and fight JDM. Islam has made it clear that he wants to achieve double champion status, but he's not willing to fight Belal out of respect and being training partners. The same situation happened when Aljamain Sterling didn't want to fight Merab Dvalishvili. Now, if Islam decides to move up to welterweight, that could be a nightmare scenario for the lightweight division, considering many fighters want to fight for the belt next. If Belal Muhammad wins, a fight with Shavkat could end up getting booked for some time in late 2025 or early 2026. Unless Shavkat is still dealing with injuries, a title fight for Leon Edwards could be more than a year away. At that point, is it even worth waiting for a title fight? Dan Hooker posts update on hand surgery. After being forced out of his UFC 313 fight with Justin Gaethje thanks to a broken hand, Dan Hooker wound up in the operating table. In the wake of the weekend's card, Hooker posted a post-surgery update, giving fans a glimpse at the surgical wound after having his protective cast removed. While the hangman still has a long road to recovery, doctors did notably remove his stitches. Despite being fresh off surgery, Hooker's already calling for a fight this summer on the International Fight Week card in June. While Hooker's called for a fight against Arman Tsarukyan, who he has exchanged words with online since fracturing his hand, Beneil Dariush is open to throwing down with Hooker on the International Fight Week card as well. Considering Hooker has racked up the performance bonuses since joining the promotion, it's safe to say that fans won't have any complaints if his return gets booked for this summer. Ryan Garcia jokes about Dana White's new boxing league pay. Dana White and Turki Al-Sheikh are confident that their new boxing league will shake up the landscape of the sport. The way Ryan Garcia sees things, however, if Dana's new boxing league pays fighters just a small fraction of revenue, the new league may not even get off the ground. During an interview with the Schmo this past weekend, Garcia was asked about the endeavor, and in response, he quickly cracked a joke about fighter pay in the UFC.
What do you make of Dana White entering the world of boxing and teaming up with Cheek Turkey?
Yeah, I mean, if they pay like the UFC, though, we might not like it. We might not like it, but I'm happy, Dana's getting involved. He's a great dude, and I'm sure they're going to do big things.
The new joint venture from Dana and Turkey may shake up the boxing industry in more ways than one. During an in-person appearance on the Ariel Helwani show on Tuesday, boxing promoter Lou DiBella weighed in on comments Ari Emanuel made about the Ali Act that left him feeling like Dana and Turkey's new promotion was a sign that the Ali Act could wind up getting repealed. Who's more in with the government right now than Dana? When Ari Emanuel starts talking a couple of weeks ago about the Ali Act and how it was bad law, that said to me, Ali Act doesn't have a lot of time left. While the new league doesn't have a date announced for its first card, Turkey mentioned an event in September on the Pat McAfee show this weekend. Dana White and the UFC accused of scamming fans. It looks like the UFC and Dana White are getting called out for allegedly scamming casual fans. During the main event at UFC 313 between Alex Pereira and Magomed Ankalaev, UFC displayed the unofficial keyword unofficial stats near the end of round 5. As they displayed the unofficial stats on screen that showed Pereira landing 76 significant strikes to Magomed's 64, mixed with the commentators talking about how they believed Alex Pereira won the fight, that led many casual fans to believe Alex Pereira was going to win. Then, a UFC commentator allegedly read out a betting ad encouraging UFC fans to bet on the fight, saying that Alex Pereira is the underdog. They even went as far as allegedly telling the live viewership that you can still bet after the fight finished, all the way till the official decision was read out. Many people also noted that the scorecard took longer than usual to read out. With all this taken into account, many people are furious at the UFC for essentially scamming the casual fan base into thinking they can make money on betting Pereira and then reading out a gambling ad, redirecting the fan base to their sponsor. One user on TikTok called out this shady tactic with this video. And before we continue, we have a favor to ask. Help us reach 200,000 subscribers on MMA Zone by subscribing and turning on notifications for daily MMA content. Seriously, we rarely miss a day.
One of the most disgusting things I've ever seen happened during the UFC 313 main event towards the end of it, where Alex Pereira and Ankalaev were fighting in round 5 with 21 seconds left. They showed the round-by-round strike numbers towards the end of the fight. With 21 seconds left, these were one of the most disgustingly misrepresented statistics I've ever seen. At the end of the fight, Jon Anik was announcing that the odds are on the board. They showed plus 100 Alex Pereira, and Jon Anik made sure everybody knew that you could gamble on the fights as long as the decision hasn't been read. The UFC and Vegas, knowing that a bunch of casual fans are watching Alex Pereira fight this 5-round fight, they showed completely false statistics to claim as if Alex Pereira was outstriking Magomed Ankalaev in 4 of the 5 rounds. round, then showing him at plus 100 and having John Anik read that you can gamble on the fights, especially commentating it, knowing everybody's watching, waiting for this decision, and then the decision being unanimous, one card being 49-46, and it taking that long to be read is a little bit suspicious, knowing you put the wrong stats on the board and showed that Alex Pereira was plus 100 after the fight. I've never seen the UFC have commentary explain that you could gamble right after the fight. Never. And if they have never emphasized it to the extremity that they did in this fight, knowing how many casual fans were watching, especially after showing completely false statistics right as the fight was ending. These are the correct striking stats. You could see Magomed Ankalaev versus Alex Pereira. These numbers do not add up to what they showed on that screen. When you look at the UFC stats website, they show round by round. Alex Pereira is red, Magomed Ankalaev is blue. You can clearly see they completely botched round 4 and round 5. They tried to make it seem where Alex Pereira was outstriking Ankalaev in those rounds. It was completely false. On top of that, they took away 2 strikes away from Ankalaev in round 2. Fine, I'll give you that as a mistake. But round 3 was so much wider of a discrepancy on the stats that they showed because it was such a close round that they wanted to make it seem like Alex Pereira ran away with it. This was genuinely disgusting. It is preying on people who are only watching Alex Pereira, trying to show them that, look, he's plus money. He's the underdog after he outstruck Ankalaev for 4 of 5 rounds.
At the end of the fight, the official stats came out, and surprisingly, they weren't even close for Magomed. Like we mentioned earlier, they displayed 64 significant strikes for Magomed near the end of the round 5 on official stats, and he ended up with 94, a difference of 30 significant strikes, which is a huge margin. Whereas Alex Pereira only had a difference of 5 from the unofficial to official stats. Do you think the UFC scammed fans by insinuating that Alex Pereira was going to win both on the commentary and showcasing him landing more significant strikes, and then reading out a gambling ad saying he was the underdog while telling the fan base they can still bet on the fight? Here's what the MMA community had to say. The unofficial stats are always inaccurate, I know, but why'd they take so long to read a unanimous decision after they conveniently showed that Alex was plus money? And when it's a Pereira fight, you know there will be casual fans watching who might not know they're inaccurate. If you watch the stat counter, they did the same for Strickland versus Adesanya. They had Izzy leading on strikes in the mid-fight stat counter. I agreed they tried to milk Pereira hard with the betting line, but you should already know those strike stats are unofficial till after the fight. I've seen 30 additional 6 strikes to be added to a count after the fight. Was wondering why they took so long to get Buffer in there and read the scorecards. I remember watching and hearing this live and was like, what the They never do this. Super sus. I thought the exact same thing. First time I ever heard them announce we can still place a wager before decision. Luckily, I had Big Ankh ML. Once again, we're not saying anything was done wrong here by the UFC, as it could have been a simple mistake. However, a lot of the people in the community were not too happy with all of this. A lot of people have an issue with this for new UFC fans, saying they're taking advantage of them for being uneducated in a scoring system. What do you think about the situation? Let us know down in the comment section.